What's up guys, welcome along and thanks so much for joining us on this very murky summer's day here in the UK. And today we're going to be taking this Bavarian behemoth out for a little spin, the BMW 1150 GS. Feels a bit like a BBC. There she is, the bean washer. Oh, you can also warm your legs up on here, lovely. Oh yes. Oh, it's the German sniper, yeah? It's a bit of one of these to get on. Oh, look, there's a tank, yeah?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Right, let's get it off the stand. There she goes. Here she is. So, BMW GS. Oh, it's the German sniper, yeah? Right. So the GS, where should we start? Let's go right back to the beginning. The GS is actually 45 years old this year, 2025. So it was introduced in 1980 as the R80 GS, which was an air-cooled dual sport vehicle. So it could go off-road and on-road, that was the theory of it. Then in 1994 they revolutionised the bike and they went to an oil-cooled design. So anything pre-94 is known as an airhead, post-94 is known as an oil head. Then in 99 they upped the capacity to 1150cc with the introduction of this beast, the GS 1150. That production run from 1994 until 2005, and in the later years of that production run they also introduced some updates such as ABS, heated grips and factory luggage. Now BMW carried that design on into the 1200, which came in 2005, and up to the modern day. They've just made incremental tweaks to the bike, very much like the other German brand Porsche, where it's, rather than a revolution, it's just evolution of the machine. It was such a good base to start with, they've just carried it on. But today we're on the 1150. This is actually a 2002 model, so it is one of the slightly later models with the ABS and the heated grips. And obviously this is the big boy GS. They do different engine sizes and versions, but this is the range topping big boy, say the 1150 for the time. So I'm not a GS nut, I'm not a GS guru. I've just done a little bit of research online, so I'm sure there's plenty of fanatics out there that will pick me up on some of the bits and pieces I may have got slightly confused with or incorrect. So if I do, please don't hesitate, comment down below and educate myself and the rest of the internet on what the real deal is. What does GS stand for? It's not the German sniper, it is, well, originally it was the German scrambler, and then they actually changed the name through production to Geländestraße, which literally translates to terrain street. So again, the dual sport ethos of the bike, that's what it's all about. GS has been around for 45 years. What is it in the modern day, or modern-ish times I suppose, modern history, what is it that's made the adventure bike boom so much? I think it's got a lot to do with this machine. So when this machine came out in 2002, the superbikes were the king of the hill. That's what everybody was buying, that's what was selling in the showrooms. Everybody wanted the superbikes. Adventure bikes, you couldn't sell them for toffee. Move on to 2025 and it's completely role reversal. You're not selling superbikes in the showrooms, they're too powerful, they're too crazy for the roads. Everybody wants a nice, relaxing, comfortable dual sport adventure bike. So why is that? Well, I think it's a big part down to Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman's original Long Way Round. Now in 2004 they took this exact model of bike, the BMW 1150 GS, and they rode around the world and documented the whole thing. And I think that really whetted people's appetite for that dual sport adventure biking. So I think that was a big part of the revolution with the adventure bikes. However, there are also some key features of the GS which might be one of the reasons it's so popular in that sector. Starting from the front of the bike, we've got this great big flamingo's beak, gives it a very iconic look, along with its asymmetric eyes, which remind you of Lyle Robideau from The Waterboy.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Down to the boxer configuration engine. So this is a horizontally opposed twin cylinder, and gives you the impression of a bit of a radial engine hanging out of the side of an aircraft. They also act as really nice leg warmers in the chillier weather. So there's some of the little features, as well as the Telelever front suspension, Paralever rear suspension, which we will look at in more detail when we walk around the bike. It's just got a few little key features on it that make it a little bit quirky and a little bit different. Where's he going? A few specs of the bike. So this is a 2002 version, 1130cc horizontally opposed, which means the cylinders are firing outwards, gives a lower centre of gravity to the bike because the pistons are down lower. 1130cc, oil cooled, fuel injected, pumping out 85 horsepower. Now that will be genuine 85 horsepower, as it's Bavarian German horsepower, and they're normally pretty accurate. So 85 horsepower, 71 foot-pound of torque, and a wet weight, you ready for this, 249 kilograms. So she is a bit of a hefty old girl. When you're moving it around, although it's got incredible steering lock on it, it's quite a big physical bike. You could liken it to shifting a double twin wardrobe around in a single bedroom flat. It's kind of that feeling to it. But once you get it on the road and once you start moving along, it doesn't feel like that in the slightest whatsoever. So that motor then coupled to a 6-speed transmission and driven to the rear wheel through a shaft drive, so lack of maintenance, perfect. We've got twin 300mm discs up the front with 4-pot calipers, and a single disc out the back. I think it's 270 odd mil. A 19-inch wheel up the front and a 17 wheel out the back, spoked rims. 22 litre fuel tank, unless you go for the adventure version, which again has a larger fuel tank, as we mentioned earlier. And a top speed claimed 120 miles an hour. She's a ripper. So what is she like to ride? Well, like I say, she is a big old girl, so it wouldn't be a good bike for a new rider to just jump on and ride away. Having said that, when you're on the bike moving along, it is incredibly confidence inspiring and quite docile to just flick around and nimble. The skinny little tyres help to fall on the side of the tyre, but it's just easy to ride. Very, very comfortable, hugely comfortable seat, nice comfortable position on the bars, great protection from this big screen here, good view out the mirrors. You could sit here for hours and hours all day long. That's what it's built for, so it does that really well. Obviously, being German, you would expect it to hit all of its marks, which it does. The front suspension, this Telelever front suspension, it rides the bumps very well. I mean, the suspension setup on these bikes gives you over 200mm of travel, but you do feel a little bit of vagueness between the contact between that front wheel and the bars itself. You don't, like a conventional suspension bike, you have the feedback coming up through the forks into the bars, and like this on a bit of a greasy damp road, you're just losing that little bit of feel from the front tyre. So you've got to take it a little bit steadier, but it's not designed for being a performance machine anyway. A couple of little quirks I've noticed. The indicators, you've got indicators there and there, which is great, but the cancel button's here, so it takes you a while to get used to them being on each lever rather than just on the left hand switch gear for cancelling it. Once you sort of get that in your head, it's quite straightforward. And the gearbox, I don't know whether this is just on this particular bike or whether this is a GS thing. When you're down in first gear or right up in sixth gear, there's no stop at the end of the lever. So if, for instance, you was down in first and you pushed it again, there would normally be a mechanical stop. This lever, you can keep pushing it. It doesn't do anything, it doesn't engage any other gears, but you can keep pushing it, which is just a bit of a quirk of the bike as well. Not seeing that on any other bikes. Oh nein, die rote Scheiße, ja. So this particular model, or this particular bike I should say, is showing 79, I don't know if that was the right way around there, but it worked, 79,000 miles. So she's done a few miles. Oh, look at that. She's done a few miles, but she's showing the miles fairly well, to be honest. The bodywork and everything, all the switches and the fixings and everything looks really, really good. All works, it's all there. The ABS on this one has actually been disconnected, so that doesn't work. I'm not sure why it was disconnected, whether they had a problem with it. It does feel a little bit loose. Front master cylinder could do with a fresh seal kit in it, so a little bit sticky. And the drive line and transaxle, you can feel a little bit of play in there where it's done a few miles, but this was a cheap bike. So yeah, first impressions, if you're looking for something to go on a long tour with, or I mean nobody's really going to take these off-road, are they? Let's be honest, not properly. If you're looking for a bike to go down to the south of France on, or down to Spain, or up into Scotland, it's a perfect machine. Probably suited for a bit of a bigger rider. I am not that big, and if I put it on the centre stand, my feet won't even touch the floor. Seat height, I forgot to mention actually on that, is 850mm, so it's a reasonably low seat, but it's just a bit of a whopper and a bit heavy when it's stationary, so it would definitely suit a more experienced, probably 6 foot plus rider to feel confident on it, manoeuvring it around. Bye bye. It smells of urine, yeah? Yeah, she smells of urine. It sounds and feels quite a mechanical machine with that boxer lamp and drive shaft drivetrain. Again, quite German-esque, following on from the Beetle and the Porsche. Similar kind of vibration, feels, noise to it. Again, something else gives it something a bit different from all your Japanese marks. Tip her in, Gunga Din. He's a maniac, maniac on the Kalanderstraße. So, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? Should have gone for that. Dangerous junction. Oh, look, there's a tank, yeah? Tank on a tank. Yeah, we can have that. Cruising along here at the national speed limit, visor open, windscreen giving us protection. Oh, the only thing could be better would be if we was down in the south of Spain, or maybe on the way to the pub. That would also be pretty good, rather than on the way to work. Boring. Oh, you can also warm your legs up on here, lovely. Oh yes, look at that, perfect. It's got quite large, chunky grips in your fingers. Feels a bit like a BBC. Now, if there's any kids out there watching who don't know what a BBC is, ask your mum. This is where the GS, with its panniers, luggage and size, does fall down a little bit. In a normal situation I'll be able to filter down the inside. Here we've got to sit with the general flow of traffic. I'm getting hungry. I need my breakfast. I'm off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of work. Oh ja, Sie wählen, ja. Nein, das ist gut. There she is, the bean washer. This mad lady in front of us here washes the sauce off of her baked beans. Crazy. The BW. Bean washer. Bit different to a bean flicker, I suppose. Here we are then, guys. I've survived my day at work. Let's get back to vlogging, shall we? I'll filled her up with some jungle juice. Let's go and have a look around this big Bavarian beauty. Here we are then, we found this nice little quiet spot to have a good look around this old behemoth. So first of all, the sheer scale of the thing, she is quite a unit, this big 1150. For myself being really quite short, I'll show you when we get on it afterwards, it can be a bit of a struggle. Anyway, let's start at the front, shall we? So here we've got this great big flamingo beak. I presume this is an additional extra and the original mudguard doesn't go quite as far as that. Again, pop it down in the comments if you know a bit more about this and whether they're factory extras. We've got this headlight grille with the asymmetric headlight we've previously mentioned. Just coming back to the mudguard, I'm not sure why we've got such a large extended mudguard when you've got this one actually going round the wheel itself. So it may just be for that dual sport styling. We've got this Givy Touring screen, which is an extra with these Tortec handguards. I think the handguards are probably standard. These as additional extras. We've got great visibility out the mirrors as you're riding along. We've got small little indicators that have been put on this. And then here we have this Telelever front suspension setup. So you can see we've got a shock absorber and a spring in there onto this arm, which pivots around these fork legs. The idea of this being there's less dive on braking, more anti-dive. What it feels like to ride, as when you're braking, the whole bike seems to go down rather than it pitching like a conventional telescopic fork. Apparently good on off-road. We've not tried that. On-road, like I said, compared to telescopic forks, it just gives you a slightly vaguer feel, but still handles really, really nicely. Twin discs with the 4-pot calipers, as we said, and the spoked 19-inch front wheel. Here's these large horizontally closed cylinder heads, like I say, a nice leg warmers if it's a bitterly cold day outside. And we've got this crash protection on the outside. Again, I'm not sure if this is a factory extra or if this is an aftermarket bit. We've got a slight oil weep on this one from the oil sight glass there. Another bone of contention, it seems online, is the oil grades put in these. Because they run a dry clutch, they don't need a motorcycle oil, can use a car engine oil, but they can get a bit tappy when it's warm, so the consensus seems to be something like a classic 2050 car oil, something like that. Here we've got our intakes, mass airflow sensor, fuel injection system, very nice, and inside here is the dry clutch system and the transmission, 6-speed transmission. We've got a Hagen shock fitted on the back of this one, so a little upgrade there, a little aftermarket part. I don't know if that's a standard can, and this one has got the BMW Touring pannier luggage and top box fitted. Plenty of storage space for your vlogging equipment, a can of oil and some notes. We've got, again, the little indicators out the back. I do like a little indicator, they look nice, but on something like this you probably want to keep it so you can people can see what's going on. Around this side, we've got our Paralever rear suspension setup. So this is a single-sided swing arm with a drive shaft that runs inside from the transmission. And the idea of the Paralever setup is you've got this part hinged here with a joint up to the frame and the shock mounted to the other part, and it acts as a parallelogram, hence the Paralever name. And what that should do is stop the bike trying to rise up as you're accelerating, stopping what they call the shaft effect. You don't notice it when you're riding it, it just rides really nice and smoothly. Again, apparently they can suffer with a bit of wear in the wheel bearings, or I'm not sure if they've actually got bearings in the shaft there. Again, somebody that is an actual guru on this could comment online. We've got braided Van Hill lines, and like I say, the ABS has been taken off of this particular one. Again, crash bars this side, and Van Hill braided lines at the front. One good point about these crash bars and panniers, I will say, although it stops you from filtering, if you do drop the bike, it is a heavy lump, so that doesn't actually go all the way over. It is easier to pick it back up if you drop it. Hopefully you're not going to do that. Anyway, that's a general walk around. Let's have a look at the dashboard. Up here on the dash, we've got some nice controls. Flick the ignition on. We've got temperature, gear indicator and a fuel gauge, which is nice. You've also got a fuel light down here when the fuel runs low. Indicators left and right, neutral, big neutral light for the hard of seeing. ABS light, some sort of warning triangle and an oil light. And we have got a hazard button on this one to give you hazards. Speedo, rev counter, and then on here we've got heated grips, the indicators we talked about with the cancel button, and this is the kill switch, fuel pump prime. Not sure what it does if you go all the way over. I think it cuts the dash out again, and then that's the starter button on top that you hit. This side we've got indicators, horn, there's an idle control around the back, hazard switch we mentioned, and dips and high beam. So yeah, that's a quick run around this particular model, this particular bike, 2002 version, like I say. It has also got this Moto AP bash plate on there, so maybe somebody has done a little bit of off-roading previously. What we'll do now is we'll jump back on and we shall do a little recap and a little roundup of the GS 1150. I'll show you what it's like getting on one of these at 5'7". So we've got all the pannier luggage on and it's on the centre stand. That's a key point to note actually. The side stand leans really far over. It's really disconcerting when it's on the side stand, but it goes on the centre stand quite nicely. Let's just pop it off, and then you can see if we pop it down, it's really well hinged and levered. If we use it properly and pick the weight of the bike up, it goes back onto the centre stand quite easily. However, it does lift the height of the bike, so at 5'7" with all the luggage on, it's a bit of one of these to get on. And as you can see, I actually don't touch the floor with it on the centre stand. So slightly lean off to one side, push it forward, and she's down. Like I say, it does feel like you're shifting a great big wardrobe around when it's stationary like this. But just to prove to you what it's like even at low speed, we'll do a little bit of a turn round, a slow speed turn around up here. It's got incredible steering lock on it, so it will turn nicely in tight spaces. Bit of clutch control, rear brake control, and you're away. You can see there, it actually defies its weight. And we're doing a bit of off-roading, look at this. Oh yes. Right, let's go and hit the road and wrap this road test up. Handling feels quite nice. So what do I think of the GS 1150? Well, it's quite the machine, isn't it? It's definitely got some individual character traits to it, which if you watch any of my other vlogs you'll know that I actually really like in a motorcycle. I think they're real selling points. This one has had a little bit of a hard life at 79,000 miles. She's gone around the clock a little bit, but this was actually only £1,200. One of my close friends has bought this, which I've got to drop off to him, so I'm giving it a quick ride out first. So yeah, £1,200, which is cheap for one of these. Current market value here in the UK 2025, you're looking at somewhere between 3 to 5 for a lower mileage, slightly more pristine example. Still a great value bike though. Things I like about it, I love the riding position, very comfortable. I love its nimbleness on its when it's actually rolling along. Gear indicator as a factory thing's a great idea. You got everything you need there. I like the ease of maintenance from the shaft drive, no lubricating chains. I love the leg warmers, that's a great idea. That boxer twin does make a really nice noise. I'd like to hear it with a pipe on the back of it, and you do get a lot of engine braking from it, so if you're actually reading the road correctly, you're not going to wear your brake pads out. What I wouldn't advise would probably be a new rider jumping straight on one of these. Say it is quite a big hefty lump, especially to move around when it's not actually going along. If you're not confident on a motorcycle, you've not ridden a big bike before, I'd probably advise trying to get maybe a smaller capacity or a newer version of it that's potentially a little bit lighter and a little bit more user friendly with modern tech on there. But that's not taking anything away from this old go at all. If you're looking to do a summer trip down to the Alps or up to Scotland or somewhere like that, and you just want a cheap bike you know should be reliable and you can jump on right away, then the GS, well, there's a reason it is so popular compared to its rivals out there, the sort of the Tigers and the Africa Twins and the Teneres and things like that. I'll be honest with you, I've not ridden enough of these adventure bikes to make a direct comparison, but I do like the way this bike rides, and I do like that it's got some individual features to it. So if it was my money parting with it and I wanted to go and do a bit of adventure riding, I definitely would buy one of these. Off-road capabilities, this is, like I said, this isn't my bike, so I don't really want to go and try it off-road and end up having a little whoopsie and having to try and pick it up on my own or potentially damaging the bike. However, there's plenty of other internet information out there that do show how they perform off-road. Again, most of these sort of bikes, they're not really used for off-road riding, they're more used for long distance touring, for the comfort factor of them, the torque, the ease of rideability, pannier capacity, etc. Can he get there? Can he get to the start of the lights? Go, go, go! Oh, good. There we go. Good man. So there we have it, guys. That's pretty much my take on the GS. Thanks very much for watching. Catch you next time.